You've got a job interview! Fantastic! G'day guys, Quinn here from Cubicle Free. Today I wanted to give you the top 10 tips that's really going to help to raise your confidence and give you the tools that's going to make you stand out from all the other people that are going to get interviewed as well. You're not going to want to miss any of this, so stay tuned. Before we get into the tips, I really want to help you to understand the interview process a little bit better. Stay with me here, because once you do understand what's going on behind the scenes, it's really helpful with all the tips and tools that I'm about to offer and making the most of those. The first one is that the employer is probably just as nervous as you are. The thing is, if they get it wrong, they have to find somebody else. And this might be several months later, and the opportunity is lost, and they may have to report to their boss. There's costs involved with training. You get the picture. It's a big deal for them to find the right person. So understanding that you need to really show them that you have the skills, experience, and the commitment to do the role and do it with flying colors is your responsibility as much as theirs. And that's what these 10 tips will help you to do. The other important aspect of this is that interviewers are human. They may not have had a ton of interview experience, and so that may make them poor at actually finding out the information that they need. The other thing about this is that if they are great at interviewing, they still are going to have a different interview style, and that may work for you or may not. And so these 10 tips are designed to really ensure that you tick all the boxes, all the concerns that they have, and put yourself ahead of the rest of the opposition. Tip number 1 is research. Write down the skills, experience, and the commitment that is required to really stand out. These are the main concerns that an employer has before they hire somebody. And if you are clear about what they need, then you can be clear about what you need to tell them about your past experience that relates to that. So pull out a piece of paper and sit down with the job description, do some research online about the actual company, and check out LinkedIn. Have a look at some of the employees that are already working there and try to really get a good picture of exactly what the skills, experience, and commitment is to doing a great job. Tip number 2. This leads in perfectly from tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to have 2 or 3 stories that covers the skills, experience, and commitment for you to be able to meet the needs of the research that you've just done. The beautiful thing about stories is that they're easy to remember, so you don't miss anything that's really important when you are faced with a question. And people love to hear stories. So the interviewer is not going to be bored like they are by all the other applicants. They're actually going to possibly enjoy what you've got to say, and for them it's also going to be clear that you can actually meet all the needs of the job. And that is the number 1 thing here. The other awesome thing about stories, people hire people that they like, and stories give that human connection. Number 3, run through the answers. So I'll give you a bunch of common questions that employers often ask, but essentially any question is really probing to find out if you can do the job in terms of your skills and experiences, and if you have the commitment to stay with the company long term so that their training and effort that they put into you pays off for them. The key here with running through it is to run through in your mind the stories or the elements of the story that relate to the questions. And you can do this with a partner or just by yourself, but running through a bunch of questions and having these touch points within your stories really makes it easy to shine in the interviewer's eyes. Number 4, have questions ready for them. And the beautiful thing about having questions ready for them is that there's no shame in writing them down and pulling out a piece of paper to ask them. It just shows that you've researched and thought about the role and that you're really serious about the position. I mean, if you can remember them, great, but just write them down if you're worried about this. Number 5, be clear about the money. This is a tricky one because most employers will want to know how much money you want. And the problem with this is that before and during the interview, it's really easy to get caught up in the moment of the interview and get excited and do something silly. Either say a number that's too low or say a number that's too high and rule yourself out. And the key here is really just ideally to keep the conversation of money off the agenda until later on. And my suggestion here is really just to say, look, I really am very interested in this role and I believe that I could do a fantastic job based on what I heard and understand, but I really need time to just think about everything and make sure that the money that I ask is in line with what the role is worth. And the beauty of doing this is that it shows that you're very committed, very keen, very able, but also that you are keen to ensure that everything works out long term in terms of the money and the package, and it's just a smarter way to do things. But unfortunately, many employers will still push you and want to get a number. And that's where it's important to really understand exactly how much you are prepared to accept, and you can have an open discussion. Number 6, what to wear. The key here is to just really go one step up from what they normally wear on a day-to-day basis in the office, if it's an office. So for example, if it's jeans and a polo top, you really want to wear pants and a button-down shirt. If it's a suit with no tie, then you really want to wear a tie. Going one step up means that you're still very relatable, but you're showing them the respect that an interview deserves. And it's really that simple. Invest in a suit if you have to. Invest in some really nice clothes. Not only will it help you to feel confident, but people really put a lot of stock into how others look. Tip number 7 is stand out. Now, the key with this one is to really understand that there's 5, 10, 15 other people getting interviewed for this role, but you have an opportunity in that you're getting interviewed, and it's pretty easy to actually be one step ahead of the other guys or girls in the job interview process. All you've got to do is take the initiative to do something a little bit special. So let me give you an example. If you're an architect, perhaps you can actually print off a drawing of something that is very relevant to the work that they do. Maybe the opportunity won't arise for you to even bring it out, but if it does, man, I can assure you that is going to put you miles ahead of the opposition. Maybe it's not appropriate for you to bring anything physical at all. So in that case, just do extra research, maybe meet with somebody you know who works at the company or somebody who works for a competitor who would be in a similar role, or just do loads of research to try and understand some of the challenges and conversation points that you can have that will really show that you're really invested in trying to get a job with them. I mean, how many resumes have you sent to get to this point? Or how many resumes will you send to get the chance at another job interview? This step alone is worth the price of watching this video, which is $0, by the way. But seriously, guys, take the time to take some initiative and it will make all the difference. Number 8, keep it positive. This is a really big one. The opportunity to talk badly about past employers is huge. Almost everybody has bad stories from their past, but you really want to keep it positive, because the first thing they're going to think if you start talking about negative things about past employers is, will this person be saying negative things about me as soon as they're employed or as soon as they leave? They don't want people that are there to talk ill of their past employers. Now, obviously, if you're interviewing for a new job, it might be because you're really not happy where you're currently working. But I would suggest to keep it on a non-personal level if you can. Try to talk in terms of the things that are not giving you satisfaction, but that are not personal. Number 9, smile and be courteous. I know this kind of sounds silly, but seriously, guys, this is huge. Walking into an interview, you feel a little bit nervous. It's easy not to remember to be courteous. It's easy not to smile, but a smile and a firm handshake and a thank you and just common courtesies will take you really far, because once again, these are people who will want to work with you, and these little things will set you apart from other job applicants. Quick word about body language too. Obviously, you want to show that you're interested. Sit forward, use your hands, really enjoy telling your stories and show them that you're genuinely interested. Tip number 10. This one's possibly the biggest. Thank them. Not in the interview. You'll obviously want to do that as well. But after the interview, send them a thank you note. You would be surprised how many employers sit down with 2 or 3 applicants and struggle to figure out who to choose. And then the thank you note comes in. And it doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to send flowers or whatever. Just a quick email, a quick text, or a message through Facebook, however you've been dealing with them already. Just a quick thank you, maybe a few hours after the interview, or perhaps at the latest the next day. But being able to really be appreciative of them interviewing you is really helpful. So there you go, guys. There is 10 tips and tools that can really set you apart from all the other people that are going to get interviewed. And I really hope that you got a lot of value out of that and that you actually work through those things that I've given you. The thing about getting a job is that it can be a bit of work. You kind of have to look at it as a job while you're doing it. And it's just, honestly, there's just so many variables at stake here that it can be just a case of no, 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 yes. Everybody goes through it. It's very rare that it's yes straight up. But the key here is to learn and enjoy the process. Seriously, it's to be able to really just sit down and take notes after each interview about what you thought you did well at and what you thought you didn't do well at and how you can improve, just sets you up so much better for the next interview. And when you go through this process a few times, you can actually start to enjoy the process because you get better at each interview. And you'll see what I say about every interview being completely different is true. And by having these tips that I've given you will put you in a position that enables you to really go far and do well. Guys, if it's your first time here, this YouTube channel is all about doing the work that fills your cup, that gives you purpose and fulfillment. I would love for you to subscribe, like or comment, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Thanks for watching, guys. See you again soon. Cheers.